Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing.
Hey, welcome. So, if you're watching you're not watching on YouTube because I only put this part in for the podcast. But my background's changed. I'm now back in my boring office, which I need to paint because it is lame. It's like a white wall, and I'm super white, and I'm wearing a white shirt, and so I would say the only thing you'd be able to see are my blue eyes, but I got yellow eyes because I'm old. Jaundice or something. I don't smoke. I don't know why my eyes are yellow. They're just turning yellow. All right, back to this. So yesterday, we flew from Guatemala to Florida. And so here's the thing. Buckle up, guys. You're going to get a story here. Flying from Guatemala to North Carolina, expensive. Flying from Guatemala to Miami, not expensive. So I thought, let's fly to Guatemala to Miami, and then I'll jump on a Frontier flight with my 7 of us to Raleigh. Now, if you are an avid traveler, your antenna might have already jumped up. Because here's what happened. 2 days before my flight, I got an email that said, "Hey, your direct flight from Florida to Raleigh, no, we canceled it. So we're gonna put you on this other flight. Leaves at the same time. Good news, bad news, it has a layover in Atlanta, and then you go to Raleigh. Bummer, but it is what it is. I fly from Guatemala to Florida, land in Florida. Then they said, "Oh, hey, your flight from Atlanta to Atlanta, it's delayed." We said, "Ooh, boy, we're gonna have a hard time making that next flight then." And then they said, "Oh, bad news, it's delayed again." So we said, "So we can't make the next flight." "Yeah, so if you'd like, you can book for the morning in Atlanta." Whoa, I bought a direct flight. It kind of feels like I'm getting hosed over here because my direct flight was supposed to take me right home. I was trying to avoid this. And if you delayed my flight, that's fine. I still go home. But you're just leaving me in Atlanta now. So luckily, my wife started talking to some people, and someone, I don't know where she was, said, "I have a direct flight to Raleigh from Florida because I was supposed to leave at 2 o'clock today, and it's now 7, and they've just delayed it so much." And we said, "Well, why don't we just move to that flight?" So we went and spoke to someone who said, "Hey, can we put us on that flight?" And they said, "No." So then my dear wife, Mariah, said, "Talk to someone else." They said, "No." Then she talked to someone else, and they said, "Yes." And so I made it home. I'm supposed to be sitting in Atlanta, or maybe on an airplane at this point, but can you believe it? Yeah, if you look at my ChatGPT history, I was like, how is this airline profitable? Because holy smokes. But I think guys, I have a way worse one than that. One time I got stuck, I'll go quick here. One time I was flying from Mexico City and was in the Mexico City airport, and they kept canceling the flight up until midnight or something like that, 1 a.m. And then they were like, "Oh, hey, yep, it's done. So good luck." And I'm in Mexico City, and I'm like, "Okay, when's my next flight?" They were like, "Well, we have one that leaves at 6:45 a.m. or something like that." So I was like, "Okay, it's 1 a.m. I guess I'm just going to sleep in the airport." So and I'm solo traveling at this moment. I was for work. And so I was pulled over all my stuff and got my suitcases all set. All right, I'm just going to sleep here. And they don't let you sleep. So people were waking me up in the airport, like guards. "Yep, sorry, now let's sleep." I'm like, "What you just want me to keep my eyes open all night? You canceled my..." Anyway, what was crazy is then I ended up flying back, and everything had been jacked out of my suitcase that was on the airplane, because when it kept getting delayed. I guess the workers just went through all my stuff. So then I show up to my location after not sleeping because I wasn't allowed to sleep in the airport, and they had stolen a bunch of electronics from my suitcase. Anyway, those are my travel stories. All right, let's get into this. So I'll die on this hill. If you want to sell more on Etsy, sell a product that does something. That's the way to do it. I'm going to walk through how to change your product from what you're currently selling to make it actually do something. And I'm going to tell you why this is important here. It is very difficult to sell a want. So I just want something, because there's a wall that's built up from the consumer that they justify why they probably don't need it now. So if you have something that has a lot of add to carts or a lot of activity, but they aren't quite buying, you're usually missing this pin. This is the pin that needs to be pulled to let the water flow through. And it's that we need to change them from, oh yeah, I kind of want this, to I need this. So that need is much easier to sell. Think of it like this. I am going to go buy a shirt. Do I need a shirt? Do I have a shirt on my back? Is my closet empty? Why do I need this shirt? If the shirt, though, and this, let's just use Nike, for example, makes me look like I'm a basketball player. Let's just say I want to fit in with my basketball playing friends. Suddenly I have a need. The shirt isn't just a shirt anymore. It's going to help me fit in with my friends. That becomes a need that's important in my life. This is why brands are so important and how pretty much all of them work. Why do you have a Stanley Cup? Why do you have an iPhone? Why do you have, there's a need for this. I was just watching a video on YouTube where someone was saying, I really love these Samsung flip phones and and then he says, but I'm really nervous about committing to it because then my text bubble will be whatever color it is, green or whatever. That, ding. I can't switch over because I have a need. What's my need? That my text bubble is blue so that my friends can do this. No. So you all sell something. And it's really easy to fall under the mindset of, I sell a shirt, I sell a sign, I sell a mug, I sell outdoor decor. But if you don't have a need that's connected to it, then you're banking on someone wanting. And if they want, they have those hurdles that they have to jump through. Another cool thing that happens when you create a need instead of a want is that every time they see the old version of something, they're reminded of what it is that they need. So let me give an example of this. When new phones come out and you watch the new iPhone or the new whatever come out, you then suddenly start to look at your old phone and you can see its flaws. You're like, oh man, I wish I had that extra lens, or I wish it did this, or I wish it did that, I wish it came in this color, whatever it is. You start to picture your life with the new. And so because of that, there's this touch point that's taking place within the consumer every time they see something. You sell a front door wreath. Every time someone looks at their front door and it's empty, they go, I really want a wreath on that. You sell organizing stuff, and every time they look at their disorganized area, they think, be really nice if I had this. And that feed, it's called the replacement effect, which is like, every time they see something, they just want to replace it. They want to replace it. They want to replace it. That's where you're getting those touch points. And you probably have heard this, that there's several touch points that are needed for a consumer to make a decision. But if you can create a need the first time you see them, then every time they look at their other environment that fires that need, they're getting that touch point without you paying a dime. This is why this is a really great principle. So at this point, we've switched the product from a want to a need. We've then created the replacement effect, which is now they're getting this touch point every time they see something. They're like, oh, which is now moved. If we move it one step even further, we've created a problem that they didn't know that they had. So if you go back to the iPhone, was there anything wrong with the iPhone before the new one came out? No. But suddenly there's a problem that's in their life. People pay to solve problems. They pay for it. And so this is the plumber analogy that's always given, is like, I'm not thinking about a plumber. I don't need a plumber. I don't want a plumber. There's nothing about me that was expecting to play a plumber today unless I have a problem. Then I'm thinking about a plumber. Then I want a plumber. Then I'm paying for a plumber. Then I'm bringing a plumber into my house. And so you're trying to create that same urgency, but you can do it just by creating a need. You don't have to be like, here's a problem in your life. You can just be like, look what this is going to do for you. It's such a softer, easier way to sell. And I think it just feels better when you can say, look at all these great things that this product is going to do for you. We're actually going to, let's just transition into it. The last part that makes selling a need over a want is that it's so much easier to advertise and create ads for. And so when you're like creating a website and you're just like, well, here's my product. It's okay, cool product. But when you're like, this is what my product is going to do for you, now you're selling. And so when there's this formula in writing ads, we don't need to get super into it. It's a T formula. It's like and it's plus, minus, plus, minus. I'll teach it to you real quick. The plus is, if you buy my product, this is the positive result that you'll get. If the next one, which is plus minus, if you buy my product, you'll avoid this problem in your life. So if we just go back to the headphone thing, buy my product and you'll have a nice organized desk and everything will be great. The next one being buy my product and you won't have this nasty desk that's distracting, that's making it hard to work anymore. So I'm saying the same thing, but I'm saying it differently. Plus, minus, plus, plus. Now, minus plus is you say, hey, if you don't buy this product, then you don't get this amazing result. And then the last one is minus, minus, which is like, if you don't buy this product, then this is what your life will look like. And so we're always saying the same thing. You can just hear I'm saying it differently. And so if you are advertising on Meta or anything like this, this is a great formula to go through, is that you're essentially saying, does my product have a want or is it a need? And so you want to make sure you transition from I want that product to I need that product. And the way you do that is through positioning your product in a way that and I believe the best way to do it is to just stack features on top of it. So I'll share some real life examples with you. I've done some marketing for a company that does stickers and patches and hats and clothing and all this kind of stuff. And we took I might have shared this, their patches, and we added Velcro to them. So this was us coming to them and saying, hey, let's put Velcro on the back of these patches. This was from feedback we were seeing just within the ads. And then we took those ads and we positioned them as, now it's not just a patch, but it's now switch up your style in 5 minutes. These have function to them. So now it's like, hey, this can go on your backpack, this can go on your helmet, this can go here. And now you can switch it up based on your mood, based on what you're doing, based on what you see, based on what you love. Come back and buy from us. And now someone who sees that isn't just saying, well, I'm buying a patch because I want it. They're like, oh, I really need this because it's going to enhance my style. It's going to enhance, it's cool, it's functional. I can justify why I need it now. And off they go. Switching from that want to that need. And then we were able to write copy that then follows into that formula. Hey, buy our patches, get this really great result, or don't buy our patches. And now you're just overpaying to sew something on and it's on there forever. And so now we're hitting those trigger points that allow them to come in. The website speaks that messaging and off we go. So I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're either going, Jared, I'm nailing it. So pound sand, I'm amazing at this. Great. I'm super happy for you. There's another portion of you that's saying, I don't know how to make my art people need. I don't know. Let's talk about it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to say, okay, well, what do I do? What's my talent? Okay, I paint. I'm an artist. I paint things. Perfect. Ding. Next thing. So here's your next layer. What do you paint? What is it so what's your niche is what I'm looking for there. And you're going to be like, oh, I paint nature. Ding. All right. You're an artist who can paint nature. So now we need to make that a need instead of a want. What if we put your paintings in a calendar? And now your calendar is something that somebody needs. Because why do people buy calendars? To keep track of dates, to write things down, to hang on there, the whole thing. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, instead of buying, so I visited my family in California during my vacation I just went on, and my brother had a calendar on his wall of AI dogs. And I was like, why? Anyway, it's nothing to do with anything. Back to this. What if you can take people who love your art, people who want your art, and you add it into a need? Because you need a calendar. You need to be able to keep track of when Timmy's birthday is. Now my art's in the calendar. Boom. You did it. You just took your art and put it to a need. You didn't have to position yourself. You didn't have to add a bunch of... You just put it on a need that was already there. They need to write cards to the people's birthdays. You know, put happy birthday, Timmy. What if you used your art on that greeting card? What if you put it on that birthday card? What if you put it on that Father's Day card? What if you... The Christmas card? Now your art fulfills a need. Should we do another one? This is one that I get when I'm talking this principle out with people. I hear it all the time. They say I make custom. So and they're not wrong. There is a need for custom. The hardest part is being found, because it's like a custom sign, and then, oh yeah, I offer a bunch of, off you go. If you can instead get in front of the person who has this is where problem awareness comes in, where a school teacher is searching for something and then you are presented in front of them, is going to be so much better than someone just searching custom signs. So what I usually do in this scenario is I say, good job. You are solving a need. They do need it custom. That's why they're coming to you. But how can we position this a bit stronger? So let's go into this. You make custom signs. So you start with, who are you? I have a laser. I make signs. Great. What kind of signs do you make? I make custom signs. Great. Now let's plug this into a need. So do parents take pictures of their kids before they go to school? Yes. Do they usually hold up a sign or something that says it's the, first day of kindergarten or whatever? Yes. Can you make that sign do that? Yes. So now you've plugged your product into a need because they need to take that picture. They want to take that picture. There's I shouldn't say want because now this moves away, but there's a need that follows that. And so then you plug into that need that's already there. So then you say, all right, maybe there's lots of that on Etsy. So can I go even deeper? Can I make mine interchangeable? So can I have it be first day of first grade, last day of first grade, and then they could buy packs, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, high school, all the way through. One-time purchase, interchangeable, first day, last day. Now what you've done is you've triggered that justify because they are able to say, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I need. I plan on doing this forever. This would be so cute if I started from kindergarten and went all the way to high school. I need this product. I don't want it anymore. I need this product. In fact, I need it before school starts. I need it before kindergarten because if I miss the train, then I miss the whole picture. You've created a need. Now, the thing that when you create those needs is that you can always, and especially if you do it through value stacking, like what we just did, is that you've now increased the perceived value. Now your product, instead of just being like, oh, I need to buy the sign, they're buying something that's going to serve them for a long time. And you can charge according to that. If it serves them for a long time, like this, charge for it. So you can now increase your pricing because you're no longer just selling a sign. You're selling a sign that's going to fulfill the need that they have for an extended period of time. Your pricing can then match that. Okay, so now let's go one layer deeper here. So we have that back to school sign. And then we say, are there other people or other situations that have these needs that we can plug into? Does a teacher want to be able to have a sign in her classroom that she can say what is next on the schedule? So, hey, we're currently doing reading, next is science. And then you create the reading, the science, the math, the PE, the whatever. Now you're adding value to what you're doing. You're creating a need that they have in their classroom. Now, every time they look at we're going through all of our scenarios here. Every time they look at their wall or, little Timmy raises his hand and says, teacher, what are we doing next? She goes to point to the thing. Oh, it's not there. Gosh, I wish I had that thing that I saw on Etsy that showed the different stuff that's just interchangeable. I can get it custom made so that it fits my schedule. It's got my name at the top of it. I wish I had that. You've created that replacement effect. They're justifying the purchase. They are ready to go. You've plugged yourself into a need. You can increase your pricing because of that. You've created a problem that you can solve. It's all there. And that's what makes this work. And then what happens is you can then advertise those products to people because Alex Hormozi is famous in saying this. He says, if your product makes less than $1 million a year, your number one focus should be advertising. Now, I don't say that on this podcast because for most Etsy shops, we're making less than $1 million a year. A, and B, we're grinding and working our way and learning how to be business owners through Etsy and whatnot. And so we're not quite there. So I don't want you to be like, I got to advertise like crazy. No. You got to figure out your crap first. And I think this podcast is really helpful for that. But if we take the scope of that message and we say, what is my problem? More traffic. If I can get more traffic. Now, if you don't have a good offer, if you're not selling a good product, if it doesn't solve a problem, if it doesn't fill a need, more traffic isn't going to do you any good. So that's why this formula is going to be really helpful for you. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's helpful. I think it's for my homework assignment. What I'm going to say to you is to say, look at your product, decide, is this a need or is this a want? And if it's a want, how can I plug into a system that already has a need, or how can I position my product to become a need? So again, if you're the entryway organizer and you're just selling it like, here it is, you're just creating a want. But if you're like, look, your life can be more organized, you can get out the door quicker. If you have a big family, you're now plugging your system into a need. So the need can come in two different ways. It can come through your messaging, or it can come in the way that we just did, which is plugging yourself into a system that already has a need and just bringing your product over. Okay, till next week.